Today we're going to be talking about a topic that not too many people have talked about, coronavirus. Just kidding.
Dun, dun, dun.
So we wanted to briefly touch upon how it's been impacting some of our markets, and then what we're kind of doing on the service side to mitigate some of those losses amongst our team. So first, let's start with California, Bay Area specifically, because that's where we have quite a few clients, and we're seeing some crazy numbers that we've never seen before.
So California was hit first and will be the most drastically affected. So we are seeing declines about 30 to 50% in year over year for March. April, May, it's probably a little early to see. We're already seeing cancellations with major conventions, but April, May is pretty much impossible to forecast at this point.
Yeah. DFW. Market close to our hearts.
So that is where we are based. So there we are seeing more like 10 to 20% year-over-year declines. I would attribute that mostly to it being a heavy airport driven market with some international mix.
Yeah.
Florida, Adam has a couple of hotels in Miami.
Yeah, Florida's more dependent on where you're at. So what we're seeing is hotels located more near airports, cruise ports, and like destinations like on the beach are getting hit more hard than the hotels in tertiary suburban markets or driving destinations. So anywhere from I think 20 to 35%, depending on where you're located, is what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We have quite a few hotels kind of mixed throughout the country, like the South, Alabama, I don't know, where else? I'm really good at geography. We got some Tennessee hotels.
What is this, Mid-Atlantic? Is that?
That's not Mid-Atlantic, that's the South.
Okay.
Yeah, so
we have a lot of South.
Yeah, we got a lot of hotels in the South, and we're definitely seeing declines, but obviously Corona hasn't quite hit that area yet, so they're not really as bad. I mean, some of our hotels are performing just as well, if not better, year over year, which is really shocking. I think it's gonna come. I don't want to be like a negative soothsayer, but that's my prediction. When Corona spreads to those areas.
Yeah, I think like the other major market that we're in, that we have a lot of intel in, is New York. Mm-hmm. That's not quite as bad as California Bay Area, but
and Florida, right?
But that's probably going to fall anywhere from 15 to 25% declines in March, and then again April and May. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I think like based on what we're seeing across the country, the major markets that are getting hit: San Francisco, New York, Miami. Like, what do those cities all have in common? We basically have come up with a coronavirus RevGEN forecast algorithm that's pretty simple to do. It's composed of 3 components. So the first thing is international travel. So if you have a decent amount of exposure internationally, especially if it's APAC, you can pretty much slash your year-over-year revenue by 10 to 15%, maybe even 20 if it's heavy on APAC. The other component is your exposure to airports, which obviously that ties in a little bit to international travel, but it's also affecting a lot of domestic travel. Mm-hmm. So if you're near an airport, I would slash another 10% off your forecast. And the third impact is conventions or large groups. And we're saying anything over 1,000 guests. You can slash another 10% off your forecast. So for example, like San Francisco is the trifecta of all that, right? Big airport, big international exposure, specifically APAC, and it's a convention city. So obviously, if you add those 3 attributes, that's where we're getting our like 30 to 50% decline year over year. Yeah. So that's why, if you're in, I don't know, Tennessee or suburban market, or even a lot of the Florida markets that are more driving destination, right? You're not near an airport. It's pretty much domestic, so it's not really international exposure, and people aren't necessarily coming to your hotel for a large convention. That's where you're probably going to be okay, depending on if this thing really becomes like a pandemic. But for now, I think you're fairly well insulated.